Thanks everyone for joining in. This is Varun Agarwal, as most of you know. Me, I'm a Senior Associate Director at ETCIO, and I would like to welcome you all in today's special closed door discussion brought to you by ETCIO in association with Tata Communications. Today we are talking about securing a digital work. Now, as you're aware, COVID-19 has led to 2 years of transformations in less than just 2 months. While most organizations have enabled work from home, some like Twitter have even gone ahead to declare work from home a permanent policy. Although some large organizations may be well geared up for the change, others will have to rehaul their security framework. There's a clear increase in security attacks, and therefore, need for cybersecurity exigencies is at an all-time high. So CISOs like yourself need to build, scale, and underline a digital agile foundation as more and more businesses will be done using the digital channels. So in today's discussion, we will talk about the building blocks of zero trust for secure digital workplace and how you can support digital initiatives with airtight security. Now, let me do a formal round of introductions for our speakers. So, our first speaker of the day is V. Swaminathan, who's the head corporate audit assurance CISO at Godrej Industries. Welcome, Swami.
Hi, thank you.
Our next speaker is Nitin Gaur, who's the senior director at Omega Healthcare Management Services. Welcome, Nitin.
Yeah, hi, good evening, everyone.
Our next speaker of the day is Rishi Rajpal, who's the global security leader for Concentrix. Welcome, Rishi.
Hi, everyone. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Avinash Prasad, who's the VP and Business Head, Managed Security Services at Tata Communications. Welcome, Avinash.
Good evening. Welcome, everyone, and thanks for joining today.
Last but not the least, we also have Sridhar S., who's the Vice President at Tata Communications. Welcome, Sridhar.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for taking the time out to join us today.
Let me just kickstart this discussion with Swami. So, Swami, I would like to just ask you, how is return to work impacting your IT and physical infrastructure outlook? Because there's been massive impact. So, has it kind of made you rethink infrastructure and look at downsizing, etc.?
So, unlike a BSFI or a telecom sector, the brick and mortar is, always slow to react to any scenario. But this pandemic has really forced us think differently. We have been, of course, working from home for the last 8-9 months, and the whole IT infrastructure has changed for good. The entire, if you look at the entire financial closure that we did as of March 20 was right from home. So the whole IT infrastructure supportive of how the accounts closure happened, how the audit processes happened. The technology support was immense. Of course, the security part was, the backbone of this change. So it's a complete mindset change, especially from a brick and mortar. The auditors, especially I come from the audit background, and I know how difficult it was to close the audit this year. But we have learned over a period of time, last 6 months, physical stock takes, to just give you an example of how the technology landscape is changing, is we did 100% physical stock using, mobile cameras, physically verifying. You're taken off guard and you don't know how do you take stocks at a closing year. So yes, the whole environment has changed. Security infrastructure has considerably changed. We've worked with employees in terms of securing their home networks, educating them. A lot of work has gone around educating employees in how do you use a secure network, how do you securely access the applications, how do you access SAP. So it's been a roller coaster year, a complete change transformation. And I know in the last 7 months we've really come out successfully. in terms of how things have moved in the business.
In terms of physical stock taking that you talked about, it must be a big challenge from an audit perspective, right?
Of course, it was. It was. To initially, everything is not barcoded. So for us to, check, how do you check? The auditors need stock. Physical stock certification is an important aspect of audit. How do you do that? So, you will have to physically fix up a camera there, and you'll have to sit your remote corner, the auditors in one corner, checking the stocks, making sure that we've taken a picture so that we don't count it twice over. Suddenly we'll find up that the stocks have doubled. So, you have to make sure that you've not checked the same stock again and again. So you take pics, and you take a video shot, you don't do all sort of things. The other part was physical documentation. I mean, how do you do audits without physical documentation? You would complete off guard. You see, how do you do or checks at factories? We have 135 locations across the group. How do I do physical checks of documentation? It was a complete nightmare, and hopefully we've learned. Document digitization is in full swing. People are accessing documents remotely. Yeah, it's going to be a new world, in another 4 or 5 months.
Absolutely, and it's even more so true for highly regulated industries like Rishi.
Yes.
So Rishi, for a lot of organizations, they're kind of recalibrating their infrastructure outlay and looking at things differently. But for a highly regulated industry like yours, I mean, it's all the more challenging, right? How do you manage cost and also make sure that everything is highly secure?
Yeah, correct. And when you serve like 500 customers, different customers ranging from financials, industry to automotive to tech support, everybody has a different regulation that applies to them. But I think pandemic has broken a lot of myths personally for me as well, because I never thought that I'll work from home for so long. And I thought India as a country is not conducive to work at home. But I think some of the myths have been broken and busted. And government is really supporting now. I mean, you look at some of the rules that have been modified, and Prime Minister announcing for ITES industry, there are no more regulations which apply, and people can work at home. I see this as a strong boom for the country, and I don't see, I mean, bricks and mortar, people who are working from home, all of us coming back to bricks and mortar. I think some of the customers may stay, or some percentage of business will always work at home. And I think we are seeing enhanced productivity from people who are working at home. I mean, I'm sure people on the call would agree that they're working longer hours as they're working from home because they're always available. So
absolutely.
You touched a raw nerve. You touched a raw nerve.
Right. Nitin, if you can hear us, just wanted your perspective on the same lines in terms of the overall infrastructure outlay. How do you look at things? Because in the healthcare industry, the number of attacks have kind of skyrocketed in the last 1 year. So how are you managing things?
Yeah, Varun, I'm totally echoing with Rishi and Swaminathan also. See, it's opened a lot of, the thought process, our mind block. And I'm telling, this pandemic, is help us to move to the next, kind of the buzzword digital transformation. We just adopted, some cloud culture, and, our being in regulated industry, we are not allowed to work from home. There was no policy when, before the pandemic, but we rolled out this policy, approach to the client. Client is also, bring to their board, okay, being an outsourcing agency, we outsource work to the India. So as we are working from home, why the India employee can't work from home? So this is a thing, it, come up into our client mindset, and they allowed us, and we bring a lot of protocols in terms of, the security and the privacy. And the things are going on. But yeah, initially when we rolled out, the assets tracking, the challenge, distribution, logistic part by the administration team, IT team to enable the VPN and the secure access and the licensing, procuring. So a lot of efforts was happened, and then right now initially we all people struggled with the mindset of work from home. Some operation challenges are there, but till now all are used to. As Rishi correctly said, people earlier working 8 hours, 10 hours, and out of 8 10 hours, they had some break, going outside, having a chit chat, tea breaks. But now, employees are working on almost 12 to 16 hours. Once the laptop is open 9 o'clock, not to close by the kind of BPO industry, or maybe when you have the global customers, your laptop will be on till night, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock. Even sometimes happen, people drop a mail, they're expecting a response, another 15 minutes. If you're not responding, they felt you are away from the system, or maybe you're outside. So, but definitely, it's bring a lot of thought process, and maybe as we said, it will be a continue mode. As the government relax from the OSP compliance, everyone is thinking, can we bring a model of 60%, 40% workforce model, or maybe, and which clients having a more conscious about the security, or maybe you're handling very confidential part. So that we can be operate from the office, and the rest of the team can work from home with the required protocol and the security and the compliance requirement.
And that's a pretty tricky thing, right? Because the kind of security regulations that are coming in place, not just in India, but globally, they're changing quite rapidly, and just adapting to them, understanding what's going on is getting increasingly challenging. Sridhar, I'm sure you would understand this. You not only have to worry about the regulations, you also have to make sure that you're connected to your clients, serving them 24/7, and making sure that you have answers to all the right answers to all the questions. So, how challenging is the situation, for a vendor like you?
I think well, it's a good point that you're making. I think we passed through almost 2 or 3 stages of this development, if I may call, in the last within 8 months, what we would have otherwise gone through in maybe 2+ years. Right? It was initially a scramble to put together the enablement infrastructure to let the customers have the work from home execution with all the people being able to connect. Now, the good news is technology has always existed, but have we utilized it to the full? It was always like, okay, I'll first enable this and I will add that later on. Now that gap which existed, I think got covered in the first phase. The next phase was about regularizing this and ensuring that whatever quick fix solutions that we had are addressed. That meant that we had to look at, I would say, regularizing and ensuring the compliances and ensuring the security requirement for each and every user and each and every connectivity point, and every aspect of your infrastructure was covered. So that phase was about rapid adoption of this and catching up on what we missed otherwise. And now I think the conversations are completely changing from our customers, and it's almost as if we have leaped into the future. About when we are doing something, the first question is, are we enabling it in parallel? Second, in this stage, I think we are talking about concurrently whether we are enabling the digital infrastructure along with the physical infrastructure. Are we enabling all kinds of the parameters that were required for work from home? Are we enabling anytime, anywhere, from any device, for any length of time connectivity? And that today is posing a set of questions, as well as exposing a few chinks in the armor on what existed so far, and probably what we need to do, because technology has always existed. And I think personally for me, technology doesn't scare me, but the usage of technology does. And I think that's really where today the challenge is posed in front of us.
That's an important aspect. Technology doesn't scare people, it's more of the usage. Avinash, a lot of people are moving to the cloud. And of course, that's a good news for you because you offer cloud services. But at the same time, is it also scary for you, the way people end up using it and create challenges for themselves?
Yeah, I know, very interesting conversation so far. So thanks for all the points of view. What I wanted to do was lead into this response by, picking on some of the threads, right? So that have already been raised. Number one is what it means. There was this We got a human perspective also of what it means to work from home, how to keep up with things, just the resetting of expectations of what is possible or not possible. It's not that all infrastructure problems have gone away, but still we are able to make it work. From there, now we are looking at making it better. So that's one part of the story, that from just making it work to making it better. Number two is, of course, managing the balance of where does office lie, where does work stop, where does home begin, where does personal time begin, and all that. So that has always been the case. Third, an important interesting thing was that there's kind of a little bit of opening up of the some of the regulatory pressures that were there, and the OSP regulation had its own expectations. There was a process underlying it, and all of that. So that has also kind of been, the government has simplified that, which means they took cognizance of it and moved pretty fast, right? In a matter of months, moved into, DOT said that, okay, this is what we want to do, with a lot of industry consultation, and we were actively involved in that. So I think from here is where we are looking at the next phase. It's not that the cloud was not being used, coming to your question now, Varun, right? In terms of as a service, right? What we are seeing, especially from a Tata.com standpoint, is that the way what was understood as infrastructure, and infrastructure in so many ways was linked to a physical stack, to a data center, the way that is being, kind of truly, made virtualized and cloudified is something that we are seeing, into which the requirement of, a lot of flexible working, a lot of, making things more efficient is coming in, and replacement of a physical process with digital process. That's a great example from Swami. It can be painful, but you can replace, and then later on do it in a more seamless and smooth manner of how you replace a physical process with a virtual process. So that's kind of one thing which is going on. But what that means is, the thought process that we are seeing customers, and especially the options that technology provides, the various models that we have, is not just the cloud, which gives us infra as a service or application as a service, your IaaS and SaaS models, but security as a service, network as a service. That's where we are seeing, that you can truly, in some ways unshackle the limitations of, this is my capacity, this is my infrastructure. And, without naming vendors, our favorite networking vendor takes 8 weeks to ship a router and all of that, So from there, moving to as a service model is something which is coming in, that's coming in a very real manner. And the second thing is that there are, the technology innovation is also creating a bridge between these, meaning that, the thinking around security, the thinking around cloud, and the thinking around network need not be siloed. One can look at, the service model, which can help combine and, kind of blend in the benefits of, as you're moving towards IaaS or SaaS, can security come in with that? Can it be a reasonable security model be tied to the way you utilize the platform? So these are some of the opportunities that we are seeing. And this is where, we also believe is the space for us to innovate and truly, work with our customers to help them move up on this digital journey, which, there was a pressure and there was various reasons why it has started, but the way it has accelerated now is where we want to work. So the opportunity as 2021 comes upon us is, for me, is huge in that as a service space. So yeah, it's all about going in with your eyes open, and instead of being scared, there's lots of benefits out there. That's how I see it.
Absolutely. Let's try and understand how the security community here sees it as a challenge or an opportunity. So, Swami, starting from you, I mean, the challenges are clearly there in terms of the increased attack surface. You have now a lot more devices, mostly private devices that people are using. The attack surface has increased, and it's not just the devices, it's the routers and other private networking that's happening. Just to manage all that is becoming challenging. So a lot of people are moving to the cloud just to make sure they manage things better. How do you see this as an opportunity or a threat?
Yep. Certainly, cloud is a huge opportunity, but The only deterrent factor is the cost associated with it. And the other challenges, the mindset change, especially from why I keep saying and differentiating between a BFSI or a telecom or a regulated industry versus us, is because of the cost factor involved. The investment in technology takes a slower turn as when it comes to investments like that. So it is still wait and watch. I agree to a large extent with Avinash that going forward, that's a huge opportunity in terms of the manufacturing sector investing in technology in a big way. But it's going to be managed services, it's going to be managed security, managed network, because there is a cost component associated with it, and we'll have to balance those costs. And those are huge opportunities as I see we move forward, because we will not be able to kind of invest in technologies which a banking or a financial sector invests, because there's money involved for them. For me, of course, there is money involved, but it's not as critical as a banking sector and a regulated sector is. Therefore, we'll have to balance between a data center, a hardcore investment in physical infrastructure versus a cloud-based infrastructure, and what will optimally balance that. And that is going to be that's clear a boardroom discussion today. We are, first there is a lot of education right from the top. We'll have to do a lot of convincing in terms of the kind of investment that we'll get into. Also, we'll have to prioritize it. It is not that tomorrow I will switch on to a cloud and all my infrastructure will get into a cloud. It is going to be a slow journey, but it will be a steady journey. So it will have to be prioritized over what will move to a cloud, what are critical infrastructure components that will go, the data requirement components that will get into the cloud, and what will follow next. So those are discussions that are happening, but in other 5-6 months time, there will be, as I clearly see, a significant amount of investment that will get into cloud infrastructure for critical data requirements and data needs.
I think that's an important point, and I'll let Sridhar respond to that. So Sridhar, Swami is talking about the challenges in terms of managing the cost for unregulated industries, because obviously banks have a mandate; they have to spend X amount on security, and they have specific protocols to follow. But for an unregulated industry, just to convince the management, although management is more aware than before, convincing them over the set costs and breaking that perception, or maybe just convincing that, okay, this new investment maybe is not a big one and has some value.
I think it's a very good point. I totally agree with Swami. The reason is, many customers at the beginning stages of this work from home suddenly realize that the amount of data being transferred and amount of consumption that is happening and the kind of data being transacted across the infrastructure that they had on the cloud suddenly gave them some billing shocks. And see, the difference between, and one of the CIOs very clearly told me this in a conversation, that in the past it was a predictable expense, and they were able to give a yearly budget, or were able to give a monthly projected expense, and they were able to just pass the budget. Now, in a cloud infrastructure, what happens is, last month was X, this month is X plus delta X, next month is X plus 3 delta X, and the month after that is X minus delta X. So it's almost a situation where every month they are ending up justifying to their finance, and it's a drain on their resources, right? And I'll tell you why this is happening. Because in a own data center that you have in a sort of a predicted environment with a set of predictable workloads, you are able to manage the infrastructure in a certain measured manner. Now, when you move this to the cloud, it does bring with it certain elements of agility and flexibility and scaling up or scaling down on need. But I think to his point, he's absolutely right. Does every industry, every workload, every customer need that? How much and how far do they need that? And then what does the data regulation and data residency requirement lead them into in terms of where it is going to reside? Now, the moment you start asking these kind of questions, then you would realize that having your own infrastructure is not too bad after all, so long as you're able to make it available on the cloud. So I think what is needed now is, we've got the learnings from all different situations. To be able to factor that into what the planning should be, looking at the kind of workloads that are there, what's the kind of scaling, what is the kind of agility required, and balance out between your own infrastructure versus a hosted infrastructure versus a cloud, and versus other SaaS applications as well that you would use completely off the cloud. The right kind of balance is required to be able to bring the optimal balance in your expenditure for your budgets. And I totally agree with him. It requires a little bit of consultation, and we hope that people like us would be able to provide that kind of a guidance and support to them.
Just like, if I may interrupt a little,
Please.
The biggest challenge that we faced during this pandemic was not the availability of, and we most CISOs expected that it will be a technology challenge in terms of network availability. How is most telecom operators going to provide our seamless network? The biggest challenge that I faced was storage. Would you believe? Because most we had actually planned data storage by employee to say half a TB of data per employee, and suddenly everything conked off. There's huge data storage requirements, and we were like suddenly saddled with how do you store so much of data, because there was latency in terms of people working, and there was a lot of requirement in terms of even individual laptop storages, which was not designed to kind of store so much of data for a temporary period. When you were in office, the office infrastructure was taking care, but suddenly when you're working from home, you had a completely different set of requirements. So everybody's data storage requirements went off, and we'll have to reconfigure their laptop configurations. We had to look at temporary data storage points. We had to look at security infrastructure for those data storage points. So it was a completely different set of challenges that we faced. We never thought that it would lead to that. So you don't know what kind of issues come up like this in this kind of a situation.
Let me actually ask this to Rishi and Nitin. So Swami said that a regulated industry works very differently from a non-regulated industry. So convincing over cost is more challenging for a non-regulated industry. But how's the situation for you? And have you actually been able to devise a way to showcase a clear ROI for these fresh investments to the management?
Yeah, so we have highly regulated clients across the world, and we do service them from different geographies. I think the basic principle that you go on is that the show must go on, right? And we were at a situation where when COVID hit and cities were locking down, it was directly impacting the business. So the customer was also open on work at home, but we went under a lot of scrutiny. That what kind of controls you have on the endpoint, and what kind of reporting customer will see week on week basis. There were weekly reports established, strong cadence from customer security side, our security side. Will we be able to give some visibility to our customers? What is our security posture for their customers? Those were some of the concerns. Having said that, one aspect we all miss out was physical security. And we all know that that risk we somehow accepted in back of our minds, that people will do what they are told to do, right? And by signing a small piece of paper, which is an NDA or an enhanced NDA or do's and don'ts of work at home. And we had to innovate a lot. So for example, when I said that I considered Indian environment not very conducive to work at home, there are people who are operating from PGs. There are multiple people staying in the same room, maybe having different jobs, right? We had to come out with a AI-based noise cancellation software, which would kill incoming and outgoing noise from the headset. Okay. Then and there were so many things happened on the fly that we had to find solutions and deploy it to make sure that business is operational. But to answer your questions, did regulated customers? Yes, we do serve banking and insurance. We had a very granular conversations before they could approve work at home, right? Even some customers took a hit for a few days that they may not be operational. They will run with chatbots. They will run with different channels of customer engagement than voice. But I still feel voice is predominantly a big channel and human-to-human interaction still holds the key today.
Absolutely. Nathan, Rishi brought in an interesting point. So there are a lot of new solutions you had to just deploy on the fly just to make sure that business is running as usual, along with already increased attack surface that also creates new challenges in terms of how you're managing the newly deployed apps. So how are you dealing with this situation of this rapidly changing security environment within the extended enterprise?
Yeah, Varun, there is always requirement from our clients, to maintain the clean room environment. So what is the clean room like? You are sitting, at the corner, or like, for example, in the office, we have the kind of concept of the cabins, people has to work in the cabins. And if you are working for the X client, you are not allowed to see the Y client data. Or if you are working with the X team client of team, you have to be discussed with your team member only. And you're not allowed to have the cell phone. You're not allowed to have the notepad, writing pad, any kind of stuff in the, in the office environment. So when the pandemic happened, this was the challenge for us to how to maintain the clean room environment requirement from the clients, and what kind of the controls we can put, while distributing. We also have the voice-based, non-voice-based processes are there. Even, the non-voice-based process, they are working on some kind of, the medical charts or the patients, their diagnosis and the treatment. A lot of the PDFs are there and they have to analyze it. In the office, they have a 21-inch monitor, dual monitor. But when the pandemic happened, to ship, have the dual monitor at home, the electricity challenge, the bandwidth challenge, you can't have the similar kind of environment what you have in the office at the home. People not having the desk, they're not having the chair also. They are sitting now, as Rishi mentioned, they are into the PG environment. I'm telling in the users also not having the dedicated workspace environment at the home. I'm occupying my chair, my daughter's chair. So that's what everyone faces this kind of challenge. How to get the kind of clean room environment, or maybe have a dedicated workspace. So this is the one challenge we all of us faced while enabling the work from home for the employees. Then the telecom is the challenge. None of the people are struggling with the bandwidth. Then we enable the VPN access, and now we ensure into the endpoints. While distributing, we set up some kind of baseline. The patching updates, system has to be patched up. You should not allow to have the admin privilege. And then we install web proxy environment, how to control the internet. DLP is installed, and the encryption. So the encryption is the requirement once you're working from home. So earlier we not have the encryption license. So full hard disk encryption license we purchase, we deployed on all the laptops. Then the next challenge is the continuous monitoring, how to monitor these endpoints. Once you distribute, at the home, how you're going to monitor, you're not having the monitoring tools. Then the other challenge become kind of, the operational the monitoring. Now the TL and the operation manager is asking, okay, to IT, can you tell me how many hours my user is active? 7 hours, 8 hours login is there. This is another challenge came from the operation. Oh, I'm not able to reach my team. He's not picking my cell phone. Can you enable kind of, the collaboration tools? Now the collaboration tool we enabled. Earlier we have the, Skype for business within the office. Now you have to enable the secure, kind of this collaboration tool also. Then, we enable the collaboration tool. Then we have to put the restriction. You should not allow to share your screen to the outside domain. So many, the checklist has been built, while enabling the work from home. Still challenges are there, then the monitoring part, the endpoint visibility is very important. Now, our clients are also asking, to furnish the report, the monthly basis, how the endpoint is working, and the audits are happening from remotely. This is a new learning for all of us, remote audits. Even the client is also doing remote audits. My entire SOC audit service organization controls SOC 1 type 2, SOC 2 type 2, and now we are into journey of HITRUST. And then, all these audits are conducting remotely now. This is a new learning. To do the audit remotely also challenge. Some clients are asking, okay, can you share me your screen? I want to see what is in your desktops. then you have to patch up, coordinate. So many things are happening, but things are going to stable mode. But second phase, to have the permanent work from home, that is a thought process everyone is having. Can we do 40-60%? Okay, if you are going to do permanent work from home, how you are going to showcase to your clients, okay, the person is working within a time limit and into the secure environments. Then we procure some couple of tools also, the kind of like um, enabling the productivity, at a time, what the users are visiting, which websites, or any challenges is there, how they can communicate to team lead is able to manage their team now. TL is monitoring, okay, when my users log in, log out, chat is enabled. So a lot of, collaboration is important. So we are working on it, so many other things, but this is the upcoming challenge, how you are making to the permanent work from home, considering the, the infra part, dual inch monitor, 21 inch, people not having the workspace. These are the end user challenges are there. And definitely the telecom is important part. The OSP is relaxed. Now a lot of modes are coming. Okay, how you enabling going to be enable the voice based systems and the recording retention, other challenges as being the regular industry are facing.
I'm sorry for some background noise if you're able to hear something on my end. Avinash, I want to just take this conversation forward and try and understand that how do you see the blending of capabilities around user productivity, connectivity, and efficiency, along with threat management and security controls? Because we've talked about a lot of challenges, and we have to, at the same time, look at how to integrate security to make sure that everything's running smoothly.
Yeah, I think that's a very relevant point and an important aspect of today's conversation. The way it's developing right now and the way the situation is emerging is that security obviously had a certain underlying practices and all that in terms of what an enterprise security model look like, how various defense layers had been built. So there's a rethink clearly needed for that. Whatever maybe the percentage of ubiquitous access or borderless workplace that you set up for 30%, 40%, 50%, 70% people. Some organizations want to go to 90%, whatever that might be, right? The model still has to exist for supporting those number of people. We also heard interesting points being made. For example, Rishi talked about the fact that can you do something intelligently and smartly for noise reduction? Because it is true that in our environment, there's some noise which would be there and it tends to disrupt. So is there something that can be brought in from a technology approach perspective, etc., that can resolve that? Productivity, it is also true that it's like being I'm sure the kids are going through it also, right? Being a school worker, you could be joining it when you're lying in bed. You could be joining your class, and doing all of that. And that's not, I'm sure, what the teacher wants, but all right. So it is also important that productivity is a very nuanced thing, in such an environment. How do you look at that? So what can tools do? For that is the question, right? There's a practice of security, but can we somewhere harmonize the thinking around making it more seamless, bit more user friendly, knowing the environment will not be set up exactly like a workplace, right? And some people will be more fortunate to have a dedicated workplace and all that space in their home. Some will not. So what we are seeing now is a layering of security. But as we, for example, practice security, what does security do, right? What are we doing today? We could be inspecting the traffic. We could be looking at customer behavior, user behavior. We could be looking at the processes that are running on the endpoint. There could be a variety of things that we could be doing as security analytics, and those approaches are there. We are looking at, and we have worked with today organizations already, especially IT and ITES organizations, in terms of using some of those capabilities to provide metrics which are relevant for the other issues that we just spoke about, which are hygiene issues, which are productivity issues, which are enablement issues, all these three types of issues, to take you to 50% more in terms of being able to work from home. So we are seeing that there has to be that level of more holistic thinking around the customer a situation, that environment, and being able to, look at what are some of those enabling features, etc. For example, secure internet usage is something that, we have provided for a long time as a solution to our customers. So that, every time there's an internet breakout, anybody who is going out onto the internet, there was a cloud-based proxy which would guide and control the behavior of what they were doing on the internet, right? This thing. But productivity is a much more nuanced thing. What else can you allow your employee to look at while they are at work, right? Even basic things like whether they should look at their email or not, YouTube or not. Many of us for work reasons today have to look at YouTube. There is a lot of content out there which is useful from a work perspective also, if you want to look at. So that's where I think that, there is capability, the way we are looking at cloud traffic flows, the way we are looking at user behavior, and other kinds of where the connectivity is going, what are the patterns. And with the modern workplace getting shaped up, there's a lot of metrics which can be derived even from that, because most of the organizations, let's say, are using Microsoft Stack from a workplace standpoint. The metrics that can be derived from there and then merged into your security examination as well as other kinds of productivity examination is, I think, there. One of the key things, though, I would say is that, it's something that one needs to keep up with. And that's where SOC by nature is something which is looked at things 24/7. So one can make that a bit more contiguous with other elements of monitoring, of tracking and reporting that needs to be done. So SOC is not just looking at security incidents, but you add in maybe a help desk team or something else which is facilitating other issues which relate to solving the other challenges that we spoke about, and at the same time leverage the technology platforms that are available. So I think these are some of the approaches that we are keen to work with our customers on, experiment on. Some of these have emerged through the discussions that and solution POCs that we are having, enabling a lot of different form factors or devices. Saying that, okay, my user, I don't want to force them to use our own device. Let them use whatever kind of device that they have. Surface, Chromebook, you name it, not just a standard laptop, and we'll all get all of that going. So I think that's where there needs to be a solution approach, and there needs to be facilitation, and we can make it very effective from both parties' perspective, from the end user perspective also, the employee or the whoever is connecting on the other side, and as well as from the business standpoint.
Thanks, Avinash. Let me just ask a quick question to everyone. We've all been hit by cyber attacks in the past 1 year, whether we like to admit or not. Can you guys share what kind of experience you had and how you mitigated with whatever details you'd like to talk about?
So as far as we were concerned, the maximum of phishing attacks that were on our traffic, some emails sent out saying I am in distress, please send me money urgently. Those kind of attacks were very common, and we managed that through, the finance teams were sensitized that, okay, even if in case of a emergency mail like that, please do check back. And, before you release money, do check back. So there were a lot of physical controls that were built around. But other than that, nothing that worried us. Yes, but there was no unregulated traffic on the network, which had to be monitored through SOC to clearly understand what kind of people are getting into the system. So those were challenges that we had.
Sure. Nitin, would you like to share any of your experience?
Yeah, so basically, Varun, some attacks vector, are common, kind of like phishing mail, and this ransomware attacks are common, used to facing a lot of industry. So definitely we're also getting some kind of phishing mail, but we put a lot of the policy control. My almost 70% of workforce is not allowed to send to the mail to the their Gmail, Yahoo mail. So at least we put some restriction, but definitely the risk is always be there. Second thing, because of work from home environment, you bring another kind of the risk. Metrics is changed now. Now, as I mentioned, user working from home. So what are the controls you can ensure, your data does not get leaked out, from the personal, when people are working from home, someone should not take the screenshots. we enabled a lot of controls, in the endpoints, but still, if someone is having the cell phone, should not take the picture. So these are the kind of things, the challenges are there, and we are educating the users also. And, we are also exploring some couple of tools, where, kind of the computer vision tools are there, which can detect, and block the screen if anyone is, violating the, kind of the norms. Second thing, about the endpoint controls is very important. Nowadays, so many other tools are coming, kind of like SASE is the new buzzword, the secured access kind of stuff, service edge. So this is the, the upcoming technology. Zero trust network is there, which we are also exploring, to control the endpoints. Endpoint is the biggest challenge for us now, work from home. But the other aspects, one is the external hack, one is the internal, the internal is also become more now, the trend will continue, work from home. So company has to enhance, more monitoring towards the internal hacker, or maybe you can say the insider, the hackers are more.
Internal controls are becoming more challenging than.
Yeah. So especially for our kind of industry, this is a bigger challenge. Especially, see, how do we protect R&D data? How do we protect marketing new launch data? What? So those are. I agree with Nitin that the insider data theft is a bigger challenge than any kind of cyber attack that happens on the network or the system, and that is something that is completely user discipline defined. Any amount of technology, we are at wit's end in any kind of technology. If you have to just capture an R&D formulation through your mobile phone, at least in my office network, I would have controls in place that if you send out, my data security team would catch it. But how do you do it in a home atmosphere, in your home network? What controls do I build in there? So those are challenges that we are still grappling.
And also, like, I'm just giving you one example. We spent a quiet time with my HR team. Now people are hiring in a remote, you are doing a remote hiring, you are providing the assets, either company assets or their own assets. So we enforce, okay, you have to work on the company assets. But now, once he's in the office, he is working on, your office infrastructure, his shift is over, he going back to the home. What he's doing outside, he doesn't know. Now, another challenge is there, if his spouse is working in the competitor company. So these are some kind of risk, maybe it's not IT will address, the HR also need to be involved, some proper background verification has to be happen. If you hire any employee, you have to ask them, okay, whom you are going to stay, where you stay from, where you're going to operate. You have the proper infrastructure, where your spouse is working, if he's working in the competitor environment, both. So this is another risk will come, like kind of the insider threat. So these are things you can't address by the IT, some more, due diligence is required from the hiring time also.
Absolutely, and like Rishi also pointed out, a lot of people are working in a PG with 3 or 4 people, in a small room. So just checking who all are staying with you, which also keeps changing rapidly, that's going to be quite a challenge. So Rishi, do you want to share any specific experience with us?
Yeah, on the attacks, there'll be a lot of potential attempts, and how attempts become into a valid opportunity is something we try and block as part of security teams. And as everybody is covered, we do see phishing attack, we do see phishing attacks, we do get SMSs, and everybody is after. And primarily that it can be because it can be targeted, or it can be targeted to one of your customers. And one of the important vector, I can tell you, people who serve third party or large companies, because we connect to their networks, we blindly trust. Okay, so and that's something we need to be very, very careful of. So it is the entire ecosystem. You may not get breached, but your supplier or your customer may get breached, and the way it's spread is really, really fast. The last metric I was reading is a ransomware takes about 1 hour, 58 minutes to penetrate to your entire network and comes from your operations to a halt. So 1 hour, 58 minutes is nothing. It's not even the time to react, right? So I think it is a complete ecosystem which needs to be checked, whether it's your third-party suppliers or your customers. Keep a very, very close watch. And as a due diligent supplier or a customer, it is our duty to inform the chain that I have a problem so that people can take respective actions.
I think that's a key aspect of trust, and we started the conversation from talking about zero trust. And I see that a lot of companies talk about zero trust, but general feedback is it's still early in the game, and people are still trying to understand how to implement it. The same goes for SASE. So, what is your view on going as in approaching zero trust and SASE kind of an architecture?
Varun, I just want to add, to this question to Sridhar also. Now,
Yeah.
being an end user customer, a lot of market players are there, technology. Everyone is claiming I am the best. Everyone is claiming I'm zero trust network. A lot of concepts are coming. Even the SASE has come. So what is the suggestion, from the Tata Communication, how to choose the right partner, Everyone say you do the POC, you see your business case. But I'm telling you, if you are doing some kind of, kind of red teaming or the other kind of stuff, the attack and breach simulation, without this, these OEMs are not there, other third party. I'm telling you, some of the things you found okay, the endpoints are not able to prevent the ransomware attacks, my email gateway is failed. So how to evaluate the partners or the SI or, technology, maybe some inputs are required from Sridhar to our end users.
So I'll deal with that in two parts. So the first part was what Varun you asked. I think we are definitely moving from a trusted verify environment to a zero trust for sure, because we've all read identity is the new perimeter. How do you manage the identity and access of all the users, and given insider threats as well? But overall, visibility of all the users, the devices, what they're doing, what is the kind of rights that you provide them, definitely is important. And I think hence, given that you don't have a sort of a point-to-point connectivity that you had earlier, and you're going to have a spread of infrastructure across your own, plus some hosted environment, some IaaS, some SaaS, etc. It's no more a point-to-point connectivity, and it's no more just about trust and verify. So I think zero trust is directionally the way to go. There are enough technologies available. And Nitin, you're right. There is definitely a claim by every vendor that this is correct or that is correct or this is the best solution. Now, what I'd like to place before you is the two aspects. One is, how do all these technology elements work together? And there will always be some level of better together story with either two different companies with overlapping or similar technologies, or if it is, for example, the same company which is present in different technology areas. So, for example, the same company could be providing you the internet access solutions with maybe an addition of a CASB solution and maybe something else. And so they might be using easy homogeneous connectivity with a single source of truth, which is your Active Directory in the environment, right? So there is definitely some level of merit in putting all these technologies together from a single stack. Thereby, the number of agents are reduced and the ability for you to coexist is that much better. So that is with respect to technology per se. But I'll deal with the other part, which is, who is your provider? Whom are you going to work with? Just a data point. I think in the period from when the lockdown started to, if I recall, July, in a period of about 4 months or so, there were some 435 advisories which were sent out. Now imagine who has the time or the ability or just the sheer bandwidth to be able to put together the inputs from all these and act on it and be able to do what is the remediation action for their organization. So what is needed is for you to understand all these advisories and bring it into the right context in terms of the emerging as well as the ongoing threats, and helping maybe your EDR or helping maybe the technologies that you have to identify what are the actual exploits that are happening. And then the second part is, how do you structure your response in a manner in which you do it in a shortest possible time? And how do you build the safeguards so and the remediation actions, so that when it recurs in the future, you are adequately well equipped to be able to handle that. And that is where the capability of the provider becomes extremely important, because there are a lot of data artifacts available from both structured and unstructured inputs, from the devices that you have, from the random incidents that are happening, and from public domain available data, as well as from the sources whom probably the providers like us would be working with. Now, to just piece together all this information, massage this data, look at all the data artifacts, and provide the right kind of guidance is really where the strength, the ability of the provider, and that is where, like we always say, the people, process, and technology, how the technology is being acted upon with the help of the right kind of human intelligence, the skills and expertise, as well as the data backing it in terms of the right kind of actions. I think, Nitin, that's what is going to separate, because technology is always there, but a combination of technologies does not just provide you what you need for your infrastructure. There are lots of blanks that need to be filled up, and your choice of who fills up the blanks for you is definitely going to make a very big difference in the way you respond to these kind of threats. I'll stop here. Back to you.
So, Varun, if I may interrupt. So, just to add on to what Sridhar is saying, it's just not that one technology will solve all problems. It will have to be a combination of policies. It will have to be a combination of processes. It will have to be a combination of technology, multiple technology solutions, and to kind of multiple problem sets. So it cannot be one size that will fit all.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thanks, everyone. We are running short on time. Maybe any other queries that you have, we can take up maybe one quick question, and we'll wrap up. Nitin, if you had any doubts.
No, nothing, Varun. Thank you.
Sure. I actually just wanted to understand from Sridhar and from Swami and Nitin. Basically, people are looking at different ways of security. So most of the security is still hardware and software based, and we're talking about security as a service. But how open are you guys for something like a security as a service kind of model?
This needs to be evaluated. I don't have a ready answer for that, but the partner with whom this kind of service we will work with will have to be a very trusted partner. The security infrastructure that they will have to give us will have to be high quality. So we always say, high security, high quality, high speed with an optimal cost. So it will have to be a balance of that. So service as network as a service, security as a service will evolve over a period of time, because we will not be able to build all these technologies in house, and we will not. So it will have to be an optimal cost.
Fair point.
So add a quick point, Varun. Just to close up, if you were to look at that one to really enable the model, and let's say this is the model that you feel will still be a significant model, the model as remote working and secure this thing. What would be that one, the top security area or project that you would think would be most important or relevant for you for 2021 to really to make significant progress on your goal of saying that yes, I have been able to make it available in a seamless manner for 50% of my employees, or whatever that goal might be?
So can I take that?
Yes, please.
Yeah. So for us in the non-regulated industry, digitization is going to be a big initiative. Process digitization, document digitization, availability of document at any point of time, so that decision making can happen from anywhere, because that's a big lag. Unlike a regulated industry where everything was available to them on the go, for us it was not. So we had to build it from scratch. Most of us are still paper. So we will have to go digital, and we'll have to go aggressively in terms of digital data. So anything which relates to storage, security, accessibility, and remote working will have to be enabled. So that's going to be the big initiative that will come in next 3-4 months. Because once we've tasted this work from home culture, and if this trust culture that we were talking about some time back has to proliferate, then we will have to actually provide that kind of infra to people so that they can work from anywhere. So if that has to happen for our kind of industry, availability of document and data has to be seamless.
Got that.
Varun, like, from our industry perspective, they also regulated, but, this kind of pandemic bring a lot of changes. We are also moving to the kind of automation. We had tie-up with the UI path. We are also into journey of a lot of automation work is going on into the company. And it's a kind of complement to the, the human. We are also into journey of developing some bots. But yeah, definitely, security as service is there. We are also working very closely with the Avinash team, some of the areas. And, one side, the security challenges are moving on. And then the challenge is into the talent. You can't have everything, in your team, one side doing the red teaming and the blue teaming, or maybe, continuous monitoring. So definitely you should have a trusted advisor and a partner who can help you on the proactive manner. Like, if any challenges are happening in the industry, the partner should come up, upfront to you. Okay, these are challenges other industry facing. Maybe you are maybe also facing, but you don't know. Or maybe, any threat advisories are there. Yeah, I have also to be monitored. The biggest challenge now in the work from home environment, how you're going to monitor the employees, the endpoints. So that's a biggest thing, from the compliance perspective. The visibility, collaboration is very important amongst the teams, and then the end-to-end, the production monitoring, what the work they have given, they have finished or not, where they are lagging, any help is required, the remote desktop supports. So all those things, is come up. Maybe Tata Communication is having a lot of, tools and products, and maybe, they can able to address, so many challenges. But definitely this kind of model, everyone will adopt now. Physical, they are not renewing their, the lease in the Bangalore properties, and they are just assuming, people are working from home. Now distribution, the hardware, software, lot of companies, putting a lot of efforts, brainstorming the next. Okay, some people prefer the another problem, the capex and opex. My company prefer the capex. Now all the solutions are coming to the opex model. So this is another area where the solution service provider to come up. Okay, if any customer is able to have a capex, put into capex model. Anyone would like to have opex model. The flexibility should be there.
Absolutely. I'll let Sridhar make a quick comment on this. We are running short on time, so we'll have this last quick comment. So Sridhar, both Swami and Nitin talked about showing interest in a lot of new technologies, but ultimately it's all about managing costs with new deployments.
Cost has always been a challenge for us, right? You're always going to have diminishing budgets, but more and more things to accomplish. I think any partner who's able to provide a combination of all the three that they would want. One, visibility of all the devices, the users, the applications, etc., from wherever they are. Second, the right kind of governance, right? It's not just about throwing some warm bodies at it or running a few Python scripts. It's about actually being able to give you the right kind of operational backbone that is able to handle what is required. And third, compliance. Given the environment today, there are various regulated environments and many other unregulated environments are also coming up into different forms of regulation. The simplest one is the data regulation bill that we have, the data privacy bill that has come about. It's going to change the way we have approached data in the past. Data residency is going to determine the extent of cloud adoption. Data residency is going to determine the kind of security technologies that you're going to use. So what is required is actually the right combination of a partner with technologies who is able to put together the right kind of skills backing it to accomplish the visibility, governance, and compliance. I think that balance is what is there. With increasing expectations, with the right levels of automation, the budgets will probably be lesser of a problem than what it is today.
Hopefully.
Sure, sorry.
Thanks so much, guys. With that, we've come to the close of the session. It was quite an engaging session, and thanks so much to everyone for actually opening up and sharing your valuable experience with everyone. I mean, it's not just talking about solutions; it's more about sharing your experiences that matters, and it helps each of us there. So, in case you have any follow-up questions, you can always reach out to us. We'll get in touch in case there are any follow-up doubts that you have. So with that, thank you so much for joining in. We hope to see you soon for such sessions. Till then, stay safe.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.